It feels like a hierarchy is starting to form in Ohio State's quarterback room. I'm Stephen Means. That's Andrew Gillis after day 5 of Ohio State's fall camp. Five practices, 5 quarterbacks, and it feels like it's almost a pyramid hierarchy, right? Will Howard maybe sitting at the top of that while Strachan and Collin or Devin Brown and Julian Sand right next to that. But they're close, right? I wouldn't say there's a gap. It's just Will Howard sitting at the top, and then there's those 2 guys. And then there's 2 other guys in this battle, Lincoln Kienholz and Aaron Noland. One a true freshman, Aaron Noland, who got here in January. Lincoln Kienholz showed up here last summer, so he's officially been here for a full year now. And we obviously got to see him in the Cotton Bowl where, as he said last year, he was just trying to survive. And then he got thrown into the Cotton Bowl, obviously, and things didn't go necessarily that well. Andrew, what are the expectations for those 2 in a 5 quarterback room where it feels like there's 3 guys battling to be the starting quarterback and then 2 other guys who maybe are just more developmenting in the background? What's realistic expectations for what they're going to be in 2024?
I think the word for both of them should be ceiling. I think that they should be focused on trying to prove their ceiling in fall camp, where they're going to get the most reps, because once September hits, once October hits, they're not focused on making sure QB4 and QB5 are getting in with the ones and getting in with the reps and making sure that, hey, let's get Air some work with Jeremiah, right? Like that's not going to happen when Oregon's on the schedule that week, right? So right now it is about showing your ceiling and showing your development track, because as much as we talk about Lincoln Kienholz, being a year older, having played in a game, he arrived here 6 months before Aaron Noland. It's not a huge gap of time, and we got to remember that Aaron Noland is coming from Georgia, high level of high school football, a little bit more of a learning curve with Lincoln Kienholz, and Lincoln Kienholz kind of talked about putting on weight. We talked to him in the spring about putting on weight, growing into a college body, and I'm not going to put anything that happened in the Cotton Bowl on him. That's not his fault. The starting quarterback entered the transfer portal, and the backup quarterback got hurt, and you were supposed to be the third quarterback who plays when it's 55-10 against Western Kentucky, and he had to play against Missouri in the Cotton Bowl with millions of people watching. So I'm not going to blame him for that. I think that is where I go, though, of what can you show that should make this Ohio State coaching staff believe in you right now? And what can you show to say, you know what, I might not be Will Howard, I might not be Devin Brown, I might not even be Julian Sand right now, but what can I show to prove that I have that ability in me, right? That should be the goal. How high can you get as a quarterback prospect, and how high can you get as on your development track? That's got to be the number one thing, because we knew that Lincoln was going to be a little bit of a work in progress as he got here. We knew that Aaron Noland was going to be a little bit longer of a trajectory, right? Like, it wasn't a Julian Sand situation where we're looking at it going, can he play immediately? We knew that Air was going to take a little bit longer. So that's what you have to prove, because if you come in and show that you have that high ceiling, that you have the ceiling that Ohio State wants as a starting quarterback, they'll keep you around, and they want you around, and you should stick around if that's the case. So that has to be the number one thing.
Development and patience. Yeah. Those are the 2 words I would use with them. And I'm not going to say it's been easy for both of them. Aaron Noland was talking about some of that stuff. He admitted he got a little homesick when he first got here, but everybody, when they get to college, gets a little homesick, especially when you get to college when you're still supposed to be in high school, But development and patience, I think, for both of those guys, it's the long way view. I think maybe it's a little easier for Lincoln Kienholz to do it because that was the message since he was a recruit. While Aaron Noland, it's one thing to be having freshman mistakes when you're just a freshman quarterback. It's another thing to have freshman mistakes when there's another freshman on the roster who's not necessarily making those same mistakes while also already flashing what his upside is going to be. So I think, again, there's a hierarchy being formed here. There's a battle at QB1 between 3 people, but there's really a battle at QB2 between 2 people. And then there's a battle at the bottom of the room of what the future might be, right? When you're talking about 25, 26 and on, both of those guys, they wouldn't be here if they didn't think they could be a starter at Ohio State one day. So that's why they're still here. That's why they got offered in the first place. But if you're expecting to see Aaron Noland in 2024, even in mop-up time, I don't know if I would count on it very much. If you're expecting to see Lincoln Kienholz a lot this year, I would not count on that. I think right now this is a Will Howard, Devin Brown, Julian Sand conversation today. And I think a Lincoln Kienholz, Aaron Noland conversation is one that you have tomorrow. But we'll continue to have this conversation on Buckeye Talk. Go listen to that wherever you find podcasts and get the text 614-350-3315. We just talked with the quarterbacks. I'm Stephen Means, and that's Andrew Gillis. Deuces.